All right, everyone, get ready for a deep dive today into the world of Indian parliamentary committees.
Oh, yeah.
If you're studying for the UPSC or just interested in how India's government works and keeps itself accountable,
Yeah,
you are in the right place.
definitely. It's actually fascinating how these committees, they kind of work behind the scenes. It's almost like a hidden engine room for how our democracy functions. They're crucial for making sure the government's held accountable and making effective policies, but a lot of people don't even realize they exist.
That's why we are here.
Exactly.
So let's start with the basics. What exactly defines a parliamentary committee in India? What makes it parliamentary?
Well, they're not just a random group of MPs, right?
Oh, sure.
There are some specific criteria.
Yeah.
First of all, they have to be appointed or elected by the parliament or nominated by the speaker or the chairperson.
Okay, so it's official. This isn't just a casual coffee klatch. What else?
Exactly. Second, they always have to operate under the direction of the speaker or chairperson. Third, they have to report their findings back to the House or to the speaker or chairperson. And finally, their secretariat, the staff who support them, are provided by Lok Sabha or Rajya Sabha.
So there's like a clear chain of command and accountability built right into the system.
Absolutely. And it's also really important to distinguish these formal parliamentary committees from other groups that involve MPs, like consultative committees.
Okay.
Those are more about informal dialogue between ministers and MPs, while parliamentary committees actually have authority in scrutinizing the actions of the government.
Okay, that makes sense. Now, when it comes to types of parliamentary committees, there are two main categories.
Yeah.
Right.
Right. So you have standing committees, which are the permanent fixtures, kind of like expert teams that are tackling ongoing issues. And then you have ad hoc committees that are formed for a specific task, kind of like special task forces.
Okay, so let's start with the permanent teams, the standing committees. What kinds of areas do they specialize in?
Okay, well, instead of listing all 6 categories, which I think could be a little overwhelming, let's think about it in terms of like their overall goals. Some are focused on financial oversight, making sure the government's spending money wisely and efficiently.
Okay.
Then you have committees that are dedicated to actually scrutinizing the work of specific ministries.
So like a team of expert watchdogs for each ministry.
Exactly. And that's where those 24 departmental standing committees come in. Each one's focused on a specific ministry or department. So think about things like, defense, agriculture, information technology. There's a committee for all of them.
Wow.
They examine their budget proposals, their performance, and they actually hold officials accountable.
That is impressive. It sounds like, those folks studying for the UPSC, they definitely need to know this stuff inside and out.
Absolutely. Understanding the structure and function of these committees is key for those exams. And it's not just about memorizing names. They really need to be able to analyze how these committees actually impact governance and policymaking.
Right, so we have financial oversight, ministerial scrutiny. What other kinds of standing committees are there?
Well, we also have committees that are focused on safeguarding rights and ensuring ethical conduct.
Okay.
So think about things like the Committee on Petitions, where citizens can directly raise their concerns to the Parliament, or the Committee of Privileges, which protects the rights of MPs themselves. And of course, the Ethics Committee keeps a close eye on behavior and investigates any allegations of misconduct.
So they're like the guardians of fairness and integrity within the Parliament itself.
Exactly. Then you have committees that focus on just enforcing accountability more broadly across the government. So the Committee on Government Assurances makes sure ministers are keeping the promises that they make. The Committee on Subordinate Legislation examines regulations and rules to make sure that they are within the bounds of the law. And finally, the Committee on Papers Laid on the Table scrutinizes all the documents that are presented to Parliament, ensuring transparency and accuracy.
Wow. It's like a whole network of checks and balances built right into the system.
It really is. And don't forget about the committees dedicated to protecting marginalized groups, the Committee on the Welfare of SCs and STs, and the Committee on Empowerment of Women.
Right.
These committees play a really crucial role in advocating for these communities and ensuring that their voices are heard.
So it's fascinating to see how these standing committees cover such a wide range of issues, almost like specialized branches of government within the parliament itself.
It's a complex and interconnected system. Understanding it is crucial for anyone who wants to truly grasp how Indian democracy functions.
Absolutely. But let's not forget about those special task forces, ad hoc committees. What kinds of situations warrant the creation of one of these?
Yeah, so they're assembled for a specific task and then they disband. You can think about some of the major events in India's history, scandals, national emergencies. We've had committees to investigate the Bofors contract, the stock market scam, even security breaches within the parliament itself.
So they're like the investigative units deployed when something really big happens.
Exactly. And they can be formed, to delve into a specific issue, gather evidence, and present their findings to the parliament.
And what about those advisory committees I've heard about? Are they also ad hoc?
Yes, so advisory committees are also formed on an ad hoc basis, and they're primarily to examine proposed laws. So imagine a new bill is introduced. It can be referred to an advisory committee for detailed scrutiny. So they'll go through it clause by clause. They can suggest amendments. They can even bring in expert opinions to make sure that the law is well-crafted and effective.
So they're like the legal eagles, making sure the proposed laws are watertight.
That's a great way to put it. They play a critical role in shaping legislation and ensuring that it serves its intended purpose.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground already. It's clear that standing committees are really crucial for the day-to-day functioning of the parliament, while those ad hoc committees, step in for specific investigations or legislative tasks. But are there any committees that are considered particularly powerful or influential?
Yeah, there are. And I think these are especially important for the UPSC aspirants to understand. They're often called the big three financial committees. They deal with how the government manages public funds, which, is a topic that comes up a lot in the UPSC exams.
Okay, let's unpack these big three. Starting with the Public Accounts Committee, or PAY, what makes them so significant?
Well, this is the kind of the granddaddy of them all, established way back in 1921. It's the oldest of the parliamentary committees, and it's made up of 22 members, so 15 from the Lok Sabha and 7 from the Rajya Sabha.
So they have representation from both houses of parliament?
Yeah. And here's where it gets interesting. The chairperson of the PASC is traditionally from the opposition party. So this is actually a crucial check on the government's power.
So it's not just a rubber stamp for the ruling party's decisions.
Not at all. The PAC's main job is to scrutinize the reports of the Comptroller and Auditor General of India, or CAG. So the CAG is like the government's independent auditor. They examine how public funds are used. And the PAC takes those reports and they dig deeper, looking for any signs of waste, inefficiency, or even corruption.
So they're like the financial detectives, going beyond just the numbers to see if the government is really spending our money wisely.
Exactly. And they have a lot of power to influence change. A former CAG, Ashok Chanda, once said that the PACS has become a powerful force in the control of public expenditure. So their findings can lead to significant shifts in government policy and spending practices.
That is impressive. So they can really hold the government accountable for how they're managing our money. Are there any limitations to their power, though?
Well, of course. Their role is primarily advisory, so they can highlight problems, they can make recommendations, but the final decision on whether to implement those recommendations lies with the parliament. And they also focus primarily on past spending, so they can't really intervene in day-to-day administrative decisions.
So they're like the wise elders offering guidance, but the ultimate authority still rests with the parliament.
Yeah.
Fair enough. What about the next member of the big three?
All right, so that would be the Estimates Committee.
Okay.
They're kind of the efficiency experts of the parliament. They're constantly on the lookout for potential savings and ways to make the government operate more efficiently.
So they're like the budget hawks, always looking for ways to trim the fat and maximize value. Tell us more about how they work.
Yeah. So they have 30 members, all from the Lok Sabha, and their chairperson usually belongs to the ruling party. So this creates a very interesting dynamic, compared to the PAYA, where the chairperson is from the opposition.
Right. So you have different perspectives, potentially different approaches to scrutinizing government spending.
Exactly. And the Estimates Committee's primary role is to scrutinize the budget estimates even before they are voted on by Parliament. So they analyze every line item. They're looking for potential savings. They're suggesting ways to improve efficiency. They've been described as a continuous economy committee, always working to ensure that the government is getting the most bang for its buck.
That is a crucial role, especially in a country like India, with so many competing demands for very limited resources.
Yeah.
But like the PACI, I imagine that they face certain limitations as well.
They do. Well, they do examine the budget before it's finalized, but their role is still advisory, and they don't have the same level of expert assistance from the CAG as the PACI does. So that can sometimes make their task a bit more challenging.
So they're working with a slightly different toolkit.
Yeah.